I met a gypsy.
Yeah. I'm impressed when a lot of guys I'm watching every weekend race and those guys crash and they get back up, and they get back on their bike. They have that's a lot of grit, man, to hop back on that bike because I know that they're hurting,
Yeah.
but they want to win, So, like
Well,
I
I
said,
mean,
I have
some
a
of the
lot of respect.
crashes that Deegan had this year were just huge,
I
man.
know
Like
that one where he's
huge.
helicoptering in the air.
Yeah. How was
Wow.
his aerial awareness? Like you can, if you watch the slow mo, like
Yeah.
you can see him spotting the landing like
Yeah.
multiple times. I'm like, that's pretty savage.
He must have a skateboarder mentality because we're spot landings all the time.
Well, I think he did a lot of scooter and BMX when he
Oh,
was a
that's
kid.
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
He was doing like backflips and 360s and like it's pretty valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that he stayed with motocross and
Yeah.
because he's good for the sport, and his dad. I've known his dad for a while, and I used to ride with Deegan at Paula. He'd be on the vet track. I'd be racing around with him when he was little. And to see him move up so quickly, it just shows the dedication that their family has put in to their son. And I feel like Deegan is living his dream, you know, through his son.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think I think it's one of the reasons why there's been such a fan response to Hayden because if you think about Southern California, all you guys have ridden with him since he was on a 50.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Like everybody that was around Parler over the last 10 years
Yeah.
has got to watch him grow up. And I mean, even just thinking back to myself and the people that were around our hometown that went pro. I mean, you always have a special place in your heart for those guys
For
because there's
sure.
like a weird relatability.
No, for sure. I've seen that family, you know, the process of them there all the time and he's proved himself many times, and just because people are famous and popular doesn't mean that they don't have the talent to back it up,
Yeah.
and he has, and people will say like, this is all been given to you and blah blah blah, and they just see the outside of if you're with somebody 24/7, then all the hard work that they put in, but you can't show all that to everybody. They just see the results, and they don't know. Like James Stewart for one, I used to hear that he used to like fall asleep to races. Like he would watch
Yeah.
races all the time and study them, where that he's watching the race and he's falling asleep and he's like probably dreaming and it's still hearing,
For
you know,
sure. Yeah.
So the dedication that he put in, you know, and I was a huge fan and when he was coming in to challenge Ricky Carmichael,
Yeah.
so I think Stewart have is probably one of my most I liked him the best. He's the only rider that's ever made me nervous for somebody, because I wanted him to win so bad because I loved him as a person. I loved his style. I love what he brought to the sport. And I've never been a fan of any other rider like I have with James Stewart.
That's cool, eh? It's cool to someone can resonate with you that much.
Yeah.
And you being a professional athlete as well, like there would be something like you were obviously seeing something in him in a deeper level than maybe most.
Yeah, I mean, because he was a phenom. He came out swinging, and like I said, obviously those battles between him and Ricky were insane. I kind of caught the tail end of the Carmichael McGrath. I didn't follow McGrath's career because I wasn't really into moto because I was full on skateboarding and that was my main focus. But as soon as I got a dirt bike in 2000 on, I've been a huge fan and I've been following it closely. And I've met so many people in the industry and to know that skateboarding is a connection
Yeah.
between all of it, And so I've met some, pretty high people in the industry and have got into places because skateboarding had touched their lives.
Yeah.
And so what I brought to skateboarding had effect on them, and they wanted to share their love, interest, and their passion and their careers with me. And so that's been a beauty and a blessing to me.
It's funny when Brian was the last person I actually recorded with here, and he was telling me that you were one of his idols as a kid,
Brian
Deegan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you were
Awesome.
you were on his wall, and he had all your skateboards, and like he was saying,
Wow.
like, yeah, Steve Caballero was like one of the first people I was ever kind of into. Like he
Wow,
was
that's
into
cool.
punk and skating and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. So yeah, it's wild. Like you're obviously just like a normal, humble dude, you know, but there is like Steve Caballero is a whole thing. It's just like there's this
That's cool.
personality and, you know, what you did for skateboard, and it transcended, you know, like me as a kid, like I said, I didn't skate, but I was like a fan. You knew who you were, you knew what you were about, and yeah, you did have a crazy impact on so many people.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I did this autograph session at Toyota Escondido with a bunch of motocross guys. And I remember Dylan Ferrandis was there, you know, and I was a fan of him, you know, and the fact that he got a lot of grief for, you know, tangling up with Christian Craig, right?
Tangling up is one way to say it.
is racing. I know. I could tell he didn't do it on purpose, but it's just racing incident, you know. And I felt bad for him because I could feel the fans booing him after that racing, and it just breaks my heart, you know, and to see that kind of hate towards someone who's just is a racer and just wants to win just like everybody else. So I made, you know, an effort to go up and say, hey, he was there, and I said, hey, I just want to say I'm a huge fan, and just give him some love.
Yeah.
And it was so funny that he said, oh, that's so amazing. I'm a big fan of you. I used to ride your skateboard before I got into motocross. And I'm like, whoa, man, I love you even more now. It's like, it's so cool that I had no clue that he was a skateboarder before he rode dirt bikes, and he had my signature model. So I was just like, man, that's cool, you know? But like I said, it was cool to meet him. And then riding with him at Cahuilla one day, he's like, we're riding the main track, and he pulls up right next to me, and he gives me the thumbs up, and we're going off the jumps together. You know, those are really cool times.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.